Okay, this is the graph exponential curve second part. And before we start, let's go back to our year 8 or year 7. We did this reflection transformation. One of the transformation was a reflection. So this is what we're going to use really. So this shape is reflected on the other side, and we call it reflect about the y-axis, because the y-axis becomes like a center, the core part of it, and then it reflects on that y-axis. And the other one is reflects on the x-axis. So I'm just going to write it here, x-axis. So it's a sort of like flips down here. So what we call is reflect about the x-axis. That's what it's a halves. It's a mirror image. That x-axis is doing a mirror image on this, and then y-axis doing the mirror image of that. Okay, so let's have a look at the second one. Now with exponential curve, there's a 4 different types. I just put that in. I'm going to push this one up a little. Now this 4 is, each one is actually for quadrant. So each one of them will start from each quadrant. So for example, y equals 2 to the power of x, y equals 2 to the power of negative x. Now, as I told you before, the first video of the exponential curve, these two will never be, y values of these two will never be negative. So we are looking at the first quadrant and second quadrant because y value will be always positive. But I did tell you that they will be negative if the constant, which is 2 here, minus 2 here, is negative. So the power doesn't do anything as a y value is negative or positive, but the constant will. So here, underneath here, so that will be the negative y value. Whatever the x values, that it'll get negative. So you will get third and fourth quadrant. Okay, so that's what this is. Now let's have a look at, I'm going to push this down a bit. There's 4 types. Okay, so this one is a first quadrant and second quadrant, third quadrant and fourth quadrant that it's going to start. Okay, so y equals 2 to the power of x is the classic one, that it's going to start from the right hand side to go down to closer to the asymptote, which is y equals 0 here. It'll never be actually touching it or going through the y equals 0, which is x-axis. It'll go closer to it, but it will never go actually meet the x-axis. And also this is the y-intercept. I just calculated here. When x equals 0 is the y-intercept. So y equals 2 to the power of 0 is always 1. The power of 0 is always 1. Okay, so now this one, now please have a look at all these different types. Okay, so compared to the first one, this is got the negative power here. When this has a negative power, this will start from the left towards the right. Okay, again, this little dotted line is the negative, the asymptote, y equals 0. Now, how do we know where it will start? Well, only way I can think of this is simplest way you can do this. It just puts a number in. So, for example, x equals 10. If you put x equals 10 here, it'll be 2 to minus 10 here. I'm sorry, yeah, minus 10. So if you put that, it'll get 2 to the power of negative 10. So you end up with 2 to the power of 10. So you will end up with positive here, but you start with a negative x. Okay, and same thing here. If you can put 10 here, you will get 2 to the power of 10. So if you're not 100% sure, always just make up coordinates and then put that in and see where it actually starts from. And this is the third quadrant. Now you can see there's a 2 difference, that they're on the third and fourth quadrant, which the y values are negative. So these are the what negative is indicating. Okay, now this one is has negative power minus x here, and that has a positive power. So you can see that it's starts from the third quadrant all the way to the fourth, and this one will be starting from the third and going down. Okay, it's going up and then going down. Now how can we tell it's a difference? Now this is where the reflection comes in, the flipping or reflect about x-axis and y-axis. So let's have a look at next one. I'm going to push this up. So let's compare this 2 to the power of x and y to the power of 2 to the power of minus x. Now this is where 2 to the power of negative x goes from the left to the right, and then going to the y equal 2 to the power of x is going to the right to the left. Now only thing it's different between two is the power. Okay, when it's a power is signs different, it's reflected about y-axis. Okay, and they intersect at 0, 1. And again, I'll put the coordinates here, just to make sure you understand which one's going from where. Okay, and again, asymptote to y equals 0 stands same. And if I push up a little, now the one that actually goes in the third and fourth quadrant that has negative y values, these ones are going like this, going like that, and also this is reflect about the y-axis. Okay, so you need to think about that. Now next one, okay, push it down a bit. Yep, better. So in here I pair them up with the 2 to the power of x and now negative 2 to the power of x. So this one will be a third or fourth quadrant, and that will be first quadrant. Okay, first quadrant, and this will be, only difference here that they both got the positive power, but the constant 2, one is positive, one is negative. In that case, when the constant has a different sign, it means reflect about the x-axis. Okay, reflect about the x-axis. So that means the x-axis is actually acting as a mirror. Okay, so they have a mirror image. So another one will be this one. So same again, they got the negative power, but constant is a different sign, which means they will have reflected about the x-axis. Okay, when the power has a different sign, it will reflect on the x-axis, but the constant is a different sign, it will reflect on the x-axis. So hopefully you remember this. So let's have a look at, go back to where we started. So if I look at here, okay, so these two, if you look at this one and this one, only difference is the constant. When it's a constant as a different sign, it's a reflected about the x-axis. So if I put this together, the x-axis will acting as a mirror. Okay, so that's what we call reflect about the x-axis. Same thing here. Only difference between this and this is the constant value has a different sign. That means it's acting, x-axis acting as a mirror. But if I look at these two together, right, these two together, only difference here is the power. Sign is different, negative and positive. That means if I put this together, I'll meet at the 1, but this will be reflect about the y-axis. Same thing as this one and this. If I put this together, it'll meet at -1, but y-axis will acting like mirror, and we will call it as reflect about the y-axis. Hopefully that will actually clear up some understanding of that. Now I'm gonna do some examples of this for the next one.